Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it is the moment you've all been waiting for. I've been looking around me thinking probably the time has come to give the lawns their first mow. Can't necessarily see even if I get down, but some of the more energetic of the grasses are starting to spring up, even if the sort of main grass is being kept nicely in check by the kangaroos and the wallabies. But it is looking a little scruffy, so I am going to hop on my mower and give the lawns, or as much of the lawns as I can do, a quick mow. I'm going to start down the drive, I think, and sort of work my way back to the house. I don't know how much I'll get done today. It doesn't all need to get done today, although unfortunately there is a bit of a spate of wet weather coming after this, so I am going to try and get done as much as I can. What I probably won't do today is the hand mowing in the formal garden. That's okay if I can get this done, or some of it. That'll be a good start. I'm probably not going to do any sort of fancy point of view shots or get out the tripod and do slow-mos and speed it up and whatever, because we've got plenty of time ahead of us for that sort of thing. But just suffice it to say, the time has come, and so going forward you can expect, as is normal, quite a lot of lawn mowing based footage. Although if I can keep it to a minimum, I'll try, but the point of this is to represent what is actually happening here at any given time. And so if that's what's happening, that's what's happening. It's been a couple of days since I mowed the lawns. It all went pretty well. I might have to give the mower a bit of a service, but we'll see. And I'll probably try to get the other mower working properly. So I've definitely got to back up, because that's very important. But now I'm moving on to phase 2. Unfortunately, it's not a one-stage process, and that is to now strim around all the edges. I think I'm just going to use the battery power strimmer. I want something a bit gentler today, also because it's going to be quite a hot day, so I don't really want to spark up the petrol mower, so I'm just going to crack on and get on with the strimming, and then that is that done. One last thing to do before I can declare my bonfire season over for 2025, and that is raking up the ash which was generated from the leaf and debris fire. It's going to rain quite a lot in the next couple of days, so I thought I'd just get on and do that quickly now before it gets too wet and horrible. So this is the before, after. Welcome back. I hope I don't sound too terrible. I've got a bit of a cold going on, which is very, very annoying, because as I film, the half marathon up the mountain is a little over a week away, so keep your fingers crossed that I can beat it before then. But I'm about to do some work on the garden, and I thought I'd just quickly show you what that will entail. So as you can see, I have been and purchased a few plants to add to my formal garden. I've used a online nursery I've not used before, woodside plants. So mostly the reason I did that is because I was specifically looking for this plant. It's an ornamental grass, Miscanthus sinensis adagio, and Will and I saw these being used in a garden at the Melbourne International Flower Show earlier this year, and I tried to get some at the time. That would have been autumn, and I was a bit too late, so I've waited the whole of winter to pass, so that come spring, which is where we are now in terms of our seasons in the southern hemisphere, they got them back in stock, so I've ordered 5 of those. once this is grown and it's got flowers on it, it's a really, really pretty ornamental grass, not too big. And then whilst I was at it, as is often the way, I thought I'd bump up my cart so that I could benefit from free shipping. And I picked up this berberis. It's called Powwow. I've picked up this, I don't know how you say that, and it looks like that. And I've picked up this salvia, Shangri-La. So they didn't have a massive range, but that's okay. I managed to find a few bits and pieces to bump it up, as I say, so I could get free shipping. So I know where I want to put that one, and I sort of had places in mind for the others, but as is often the way, between ordering it and them arriving, I've forgotten sort of where I had in mind for these plants. So I'll try and puzzle it out again, and then plant them out and do all the usual stuff. And by usual stuff, what I mean is water them with seaweed fertilizer to help the roots, create dung donuts around them to, at least whilst they're relatively young and establishing, help retain moisture around them, and then put them in cages to protect them from the ravages of the hungry wallabies, like that one there. The first one's in. This is the one that I couldn't pronounce the name of. Now, by way of a little bit of explanation, so this plant is an extremely tough plant. It'll grow pretty much anywhere, and I have put it on this little patch of lawn. So this is the side of the house which overlooks the original flower bed and then the donut bed. So I've put it behind this little row of plants, this lavender here, and then next to the magnolia tree in this little area here. This plant, left to its own devices, will grow to about 5 by 5 meters, so it's a bit of a beast. And it's an evergreen, and by all accounts, come autumn, it's got stunningly beautiful, fragrant flowers, which are sort of small and nondescript to look at, but the fragrance is astonishing. So the reason I put it there is because Will and I sort of like the idea of secret sections of the garden, so to speak. So the idea for this, I hope, is that it'll grow up. I won't ever really let it get to its full 5 by 5 meter 5 by 5 meter expanse, but apparently it's very easy to prune it and keep it into shape, a bit like the bay tree. Although I'm not going to prune it into a shape, I'll just keep it to the size that I want, so that from when you're in the house, or if you're sat there, you can't see this bit here. So this little bit of lawn here will become something of a private little bit of lawn. We could even maybe put a bench up here or something. So yeah, just a little secluded, relatively private part of lawn. So that's number one, and the rationale behind that. I managed to get a couple of other small jobs done whilst I was at it. There was an old stump here which finally rotted away, so I filled the hole. That'll probably need a few goings over as the soil settles and sinks, so we'll wait for some rains. But just to show you where I finished up, I won't go into too much detail, but suffice it to say, one of the grasses is there, one of them is there to fill this gap in front of the rosemary, and one of them is there. And this plant will grow to about between 1 and 1.5 meters. So although it's dwarf, it's still quite a big grass. So I quite like that. Give a bit of height and interest to the front of this border here, and underneath this bush here again as part of the secret garden that we're trying to create up there. I put the salvia here. This will grow to about 1 meter, and I put the berberis here, and that will also grow to about 1 meter. And this one will go sort of tall but relatively narrow, and this one will be a little bit more bushy. but again, I think because of the slope, although you can't really see it, the bed is sloping towards me, although this one and this one behind it grow to a similar height. They should nevertheless give the impression of being different heights, because this one is a bit lower than this one, so I quite like that. And then I popped the other two grasses in the donut bed. So I've got one here. This plant is one of the sort of scabiouses that I grew from seed, so if needs must, that can come out, and this will then fill this gap, which will be nice. And finally, the other one is around here, and it will hopefully fill the gap between these two really nice plants. I also filled in another stump hole here, which finally worked its way out, and I did a little bit of work on the orchard because I noticed, sadly, some of the new fruit trees have gone a bit aphidy, so hopefully that'll be okay. But that's that done. I've tidied away. Now I'm going to go and put my feet up.
The kangaroos here are not exactly tame, but they're not particularly fazed by humans either, are you? She's probably been here since she was born and seems pretty comfortable with us.